Hey guys, welcome back and happy Sunday. All right, guys, well, I feel like that song, Guess Who's Back, back again. I feel like it's playing in my head right now because we have Stassi Schroeder who has now made a comeback. Now, some people will like this and some people will not because as you guys have seen before, we talked about it in my lives. And when we do, well, people are very divided. Some people think that she should live in cancel culture forever, and the other people think, no, it's been enough time and they want her back. So before we jump in, I do want to ask you guys about that. Go ahead and comment below. But now let's get into all of the Stassi stuff because she is back. Don't forget to smash that like button. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. And with that, let's jump right in.
It's time for all your binge-worthy pop culture news. Welcome to Up and Adam.
All right, guys, so it looks like Stassi Schroeder has completely relaunched her Straight Up with Stassi podcast. Following a 2-year hiatus, the former Vanderpump Rules cast member welcomed fellow podcast Jackie Schimmel to her show. And Jackie Schimmel is host of The Bitch Bible, where she apologized for how she behaved the last time that they spoke in May of 2020 and insisted she's not the same person she was before the racism scandal that led to her being socially excommunicated. I'm just like trying to make up for the final podcast episode that we did 2.5 years ago, right before June 2020. This is what she said on her September 28th episode. I was so horrible on the podcast because I had just found out that I was pregnant and I was coming off of being like, okay, well, now I have to, like, I'm quitting Xanax, the Juul, and alcohol, and I'm a twitchy motherfucker. I mean, all right. According to Stassi, who welcomed her daughter Hartford with her husband, Beau Clark, in January of 2021, she said that she could not string words or thoughts together at the time. But now, over 2 years after she was axed from Vanderpump Rules and her podcast episodes were removed from all platforms, she said that she's in a much different place. I am not the same person that I was when you last heard from me. She noted that that might disappoint some people. Well, I mean, I've always liked like that she gives an opinion. But I think that, of course, with such a huge public platform, that she needs to be a little bit more responsible with the delivery of her some opinions and some thoughts. I just think it's like she has such an influence or had such an influence that you have to navigate this with care, like kid gloves care, whatever you want to call it. You have to navigate it that way. You can't just not, right? I still love to judge people. There she is. I still love to judge people. Judging is fun. If somebody tells you that they don't like judging or they don't judge, they are lying. It's actual human nature and part of our DNA. While Straight Up with Stassi was removed from all platforms in June of 2020, after Bravo fired her for her racist behavior towards Faith Stowers, who she tied to a crime Faith did not commit at a time where racial injustice was prevalent, Stassi never lost the rights to her content. The episodes were never deleted, they were just hidden. And during that time, I had all of the episodes transferred to me so that I could decide what I wanted to do with them. I had a lot of thinking to do. Looking back, Stassi said that after having some time to reflect, she decided her best option was to take a step back from the spotlight, which again, that's another thing that I don't disagree with. She didn't have a choice because you were fired, right? You were fired. All of your sponsors dropped you. They didn't want you on the show. You lost literally $1 million a year at the time, which is just wild. And you didn't really take a step back from the spotlight. You got canceled. But I am curious how people are going to respond to her. And I do want to say this, if you go to podcasts right now and top podcasts, like you don't even have to go to a category, top podcasts of all time, Stassi Schroeder is number 2 and 3. She's bouncing back and forth. That's wild to me. Is she making a comeback? I have questions. She also said there's a time and place where people should speak, and there's a time and place where people should listen. And back then, it really was not my time to be speaking. According to a second report from Page 6, Stassi also noted that she had gotten a bit softish and grew up a little bit in the years since her podcast, which she first launched in 2015. Well, and when she went off air, she's saying, I got a little soft on you guys. My judging is coming from a different perspective. I think there's something to be said for having thoughtfulness before you speak. I kind of think we should just be a little bit more thoughtful before we put something out there. All right. I mean, that makes sense too. You know, at the end of the day, Stassi will no longer be a part of Vanderpump Rules. We know that. I saw where some people on Twitter were asking, do you think that because she's bringing the podcast back, that she would be coming back as a full-time cast member or even be featured on the show? It's a hard no. Once Bravo fires you, they can't really, like, if they fire you and they get rid of you and they want to bring you back, like housewives, like Sheree Whitfield, then that's different. Sheree was not canceled. So they can always bring you back, fire you again, bring you back. Like, look at Tamra Judge. But Tamra Judge wasn't canceled. Once you're canceled for problematic behavior that is deemed as racist, then yeah, you're probably not getting asked back to the network. However, Stassi, I'm watching, where people were saying her second book was a New York Times bestseller, The Off With My Head, The Definitive Basic Bitch Hand Guide to Surviving Rock Bottom. I believe that's what it's called. But she got New York Times bestseller, and then some people were claiming that it was because her publicist was the one who bought enough copies to make her a New York Times bestseller. And then I was, looking at all of the book signings that she was doing, and then I'm like, well, wait a minute. I don't know if it's her publicist or not, because she has lines wrapped around the building. She has so many people at these book signings. So is she making a comeback? It makes you question. And then she relaunched Straight Up with Stassi, and as soon as she did, that bit, like the podcast, I was about to call the podcast that bitch podcast, bitch Bible podcast, but it's at number 2 and 3. It's like sitting there and it's passing Anderson Cooper's, which is wild to me. People want to hear what she has to say. And my question is, do you? Do you want to hear what Stassi Schroeder has to say? And will you be tuning into her podcast? And speaking of podcasts, don't forget, we launched Hot Messy Podcast this past Friday. So literally like 2 days ago, episode 1 has already gotten so much traction. We have almost 300 ratings in the first episode. That's just wild to me, and all thanks to you guys. So let's keep on making this thing go. Let's feed this machine, build this podcast, and give you a very unfiltered version of Jason and I. All you have to do is go to the description of this video, click the link, make sure you give us a 5-star rating, listen to the first episode, and let me know what you think. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to smash that like button, get subscribed, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.